Lately, we've been slowly working through Fewladelphia's downtown district, constructing mega skyscrapers, complex train stations, and tranquil central parks. But today we're going to really breathe life into the city by bringing trams to the city centre and creating not one, but two central transit hubs. And if you stay tuned to the end, there's also one of my favourite ever detailing projects in there too. Let's dive in. I want to start today by saying we have some big news. We've reached 100k! No, not in terms of subscribers, but if you want to help us get there, dropping a like, a comment, and subscribing to the video if you're new here would really help us reach that target. But no, we have reached 100,000 citizens in Fewladelphia. Quite incredible, and I have to apologise because I did stop the last episode right before the 100k mark. And somehow I managed to save the end of the episode over the 100k mark and I didn't even realise. But there we go, we can have the celebratory moment right now. So there's a number of things I want to get done today. I definitely want to work on the back of our makeshift city hall here, making this area actually busy and functional and all kinds of cool stuff there. I also want to do a bit of work on this railway turnaround bit here and make this a little bit prettier and more fleshed out and built. And the other big thing is, of course, trams! Yes, we're going to get trams in, finally, into our downtown and do a little bit of route rerouting and figuring out across our central downtown district. But before we dive in on that, a quick word from today's video sponsor, which is Instant Gaming. If you are a gamer like me, you are definitely going to want to cast your eyes over Instant Gaming. They have hundreds and hundreds of games at massive discounted prices. Across PC and consoles, you can also get things like Roblox points and gift cards in there too. So if you're looking to pick up any of the Cities Skylines DLCs, look no further than Instant Gaming and go ahead and bag yourself a massive deal. So first thing I want to address here is the amount of citizens that we have crossing this road, but also the proximity of this really busy road to this quite pedestrianised street. Very busy pedestrian street coming up this side. So I'm actually going to change this entire thing up, and I want to shout out Nicolaj for making me consider this option because they suggested sinking this big main road. So yeah, this is a bit of an ambitious project and we're going to hit pause because we're going to screw up a lot of stuff. But I am going to remove this street here. And what we're actually going to do is tunnel the road section underneath a big wide pedestrian area at the bottom of our train station steps here and then bring it back up. So I would say this is probably a really unrealistic project. I don't think a city would necessarily have the budget to afford such a massive amount of infrastructure change. However, the Treasury of Fewladelphia is feeling pretty wealthy at the moment, and they really want to protect the welfare of their citizens by making sure there aren't any nasty traffic accidents in this area, but also to maintain the flow of traffic along this really busy, somewhat arterial, but probably collector road here. So to start off with, I'm just going to grab a 4-lane road. I know we've got 6 lanes here, so I'm probably going to use a bit of road builder to change this up anyway. And we're going to try and centralise this as best as we can and get in our tunnel section. So to get to a tunnel, we need to go down to 12.5 metres. Now you can see already that slope is ridiculous, 15.6, but don't worry, I am going to fix that in a second. Then going to have our tunnel section here, and then we're going to bring it back up to street level. Like that. But that gives us a really nice clean tunnel section, and yeah, the slope is crazy. So what we're going to do here is actually grab these two nodes, and we're just going to shift this up using page up with move it just a little bit. So you can see the tunnel bridge does start to raise up. So we should still have, oh God, I hate the way it does that. We should still have enough clearance here for cars to go through. And actually it doesn't matter too much about the tram at the moment because it's not hooked in obviously, but the pedestrians are going to suffer if we play for too long. So let's not do that. If we see this garbage truck that's just coming through here now, we should have plenty. Yeah, we've got tons of clearance. So I don't really want to go up too much more than that, but we can use network tools to check the actual slope of it to make sure it's not too ridiculous. So that's a 10% now. We do also want to make sure these nodes are exactly where we actually want them to be. Now that one's already too steep, so I think we're going to just pull this one into the centre and we'll try and line it up, I think, with this pillar after the first section of the commercial line here. Something like that. Now, we do need to change this road, and actually, I don't know if this is going to screw up our tunnel. It might, but let's go ahead and try anyway. So what we've actually got on this road is we've got bus lanes on the outside, and I definitely want to maintain that because we do have buses coming down this route. So let's add those in. And I do want to delete out the pedestrian access so no one's walking underneath this tunnel. So we're going to delete out the sidewalks. And that gives us this much narrower road here, which feels kind of dangerous. So I think we probably should have a shoulder, but it does mean technically I think pedestrians can walk up here if they want, which isn't great, but I just don't think it's safe otherwise to have a tunnel like that. And I'm hoping they'll very much choose to go across the top once we add the pathways in up here anyway. So that gives us a 2.5 wide road. Ideally we want to get this to a whole unit, so actually we don't have sidewalks here, so maybe it doesn't matter, but the joins tend to be much smoother when you get to a full unit road. So that is actually kind of the same width as this now, but I don't think I love the median. No, I think we will have the median. So let's name this. Then we can come into Road Builder and place more of these and upgrade this section. And that has, of course, of course it has, got rid of our tunnel. If we place it back in like that, does that actually work? Did that actually work? Did that actually work? Maybe. Let's just try and fix this. By golly gosh, would you look at that? That was much easier than I thought, although we do have, yeah, we've got the dodgy top section. Change of plan. Let's redraw the road. Alright, so we do have a 9% grade either side, but that doesn't look too bad to me. That looks reasonably okay, I think. So the next thing I do want to do is join in our tram road across here. So let's get the double tram track. We'll line it up with this side and then straight up onto this side. And I do want to have pavements along this, definitely, so it feels a lot more pedestrian friendly. So again, let's go into Road Builder here and we're just going to add sidewalks. So here, I think we could make our sidewalks a little bit wider. So I'm actually thinking we're going to take them all the way up to 5 meters. I'm going to see what that looks like. So generally speaking, that's not too bad. So now I do want to make sure pedestrians can come down these stairs and walk across and into our plaza. So this is going to be a really nice big open pedestrian space here and across this whole area. So to help with that, I do want to add in a pedestrian road, but then I also want to utilise a lot of invisible paths to make sure that they're not all just walking in single file on certain bits of our plaza and make it look much more alive and more realistic and fluid. But that's the general idea with this bridge, is that just opens up this plaza and the pedestrian access direct from the train station onto the tram and down to the subway too. Because the alternative would have been to put in a bridge, but I think that actually takes away from the front of the station. And this just feels a bit more open and also opens up the plaza as well. Let's go ahead and grab a pedestrian road, and hopefully this will kind of shift these poles here a little bit on the tram road, because I'm not loving their positioning right now, I'll be honest. And so I'm going to bring that right up to the bottom of the steps and then move it across both sides. So the next thing I do want to do is move our subway station. Well, it's not even connected to the road anymore, but I also think this position isn't ideal for it. But one thing I do want to do before we do that is add on the extra platforms, because I'm kind of thinking, with how busy this station is, this is actually going to turn into our main kind of transit hub, really. And we got the tram, we got the subway, we got the rail. I will also do something down here that we kind of just left abandoned, let's face it. Because this station also is actually still really quite busy. Potentially not quite as busy as the new one, the historic one, ironically. But it still gets a lot of usage, so I think it's worth having almost 2 transit hubs. And when we come to fill out the areas around it, we'll make sure that the lines going into each of them are quite different, so that it gives that you want to transfer between hubs kind of option. Or one hub serves one side of the city and the other serves the other side of the city, essentially. So yeah, let's relocate this, and I'm going to place this on this corner here. And the reason for that is, when we look at the subway tracks, you can see the one that is further down into the ground is the one going underneath this road. So this essentially won't impede on the road. You can see we've got some stairs access coming down, which sort of digs into our sunken highway. But if we have it over this side a little bit, it's not going to interfere with it. So let's just drop it in there, and then what I might do is just grab move it and make sure we're moving it right over to the edge of our highway here so it's not super impeding on the pedestrian road, which actually that looks about perfect with the pedestrian road actually going round the edge of the structure here. Now we do obviously want to get rid of some of the random hedges here and sort this out a little bit, which we will do. And we will be adding safety barriers, of course, around our highway exit, but we'll come on to that. Now, because we've moved that, I do also need to redo the line here, which is coming from this station. Wow, it's going to be that's going to be a tight turn. We might need to bring it in this side and then bring it back out. And where was it going? To here. And that took some fiddling. But it should be good now, I think. So let's just check our subway line here. Have we actually got the stops in again? We do. They appear to have moved with our station. Oh, we can use better transit view just to check that. And yes, they have. Brilliant. Now, I did just want to look at these flaming poles. All I can say here. I do wonder, can we... Ah, yes. Okay, so we can use node controller here to widen this node and move the poles to the edge of the stairs at the very least. I just can't have them in the middle of it. It would just ruin it, honestly. And I think even that street light has just got to go. And maybe let's just replace that next to our poles at the side here. So this appears to all be working quite nicely, but yeah, this is the problem with the single file pedestrians. We want to change that, so we're going to have routes to change that up once we've got everything else into the build here. Now I'm curious to what all these people are doing, because nobody seems to be using our stairs anymore, which is a humongous bummer. What has happened there? Ah yes, and that would be because they're not actually connected at the bottom. Oh no, they are. So is that because the crossings are here? So maybe, can we hook onto these and bring them across here like this? Let's just have a look and see how that works. And that feels much better. We've got much more open space here for pedestrians to cross. We'll definitely put in some surfaces to mark this area and make sure trams aren't just driving in there willy-nilly. I'm kind of waiting for a train to come in to see the flood of people coming out of the station and onto the actual plaza. And here we go. And now they're all just going to traipse in some weird diagonal line across our little walking area there. I don't know if I can do much to stop that. They are just spilling off in other directions. Maybe it's how I've put in that invisible network. Let's just remove this one for the moment. And maybe the crossing ones aren't the best idea. Okay, so I'm not going to lie, this is a real struggle. They just walk down in single file down 2 stairs now. So I think what we're going to need to do is come onto our plaza, and then we can start adding in invisible paths actually longer distances across the plaza, because most of these people are heading out in this direction over here. So if we can actually get an invisible path right from the bottom of the steps across the plaza this way, I think they'll follow that rather than all just coming down in a big long queue. So we're going to park that for the moment. Let's come onto the back of our city hall now, and I do want to have some nice green spaces in here. So I'm kind of thinking in this section, in between this crossing here, or where the pedestrian road meets the road, on either side we have a nice patch of grass. So I just want to adjust this surface to mark out those areas. Like that. And then I'd like to put in some entertainment, and I want to shout out Ender, one of my GIGABYTE patrons. Thank you so much for your insane support. Who sent me some photos of the real life Philadelphia City Hall with what looks like a bit of a sort of pop-up Christmas market. Now I'm not going to be doing a Christmas market in Fewladelphia. It feels a little bit seasonal for June, but it did make me think maybe we could do a sort of pop-up funfair or some kind of entertainment with a few little market stalls, a couple of small rides, and something that's sort of temporary, isn't there all the time, but pops up every once in a while. But to start off with, I did think it would also be a really nice feature to have an ice rink in here. Now I know ice rink maybe, looking at the climate right now and the fact it's 16 degrees, isn't really appropriate. However, I'm kind of imagining that maybe this is an ice rink in winter and it turns into a roller rink in the summer, and then we can have the pop-up kind of fair situated around it, because this does sit into this little, which was grassy space here, really quite well up next to the pedestrian road. So I think that this would be a great spot for it. So if we place it in like this, and then what I do want to do is upgrade it with the roof. Now this is by GEFORCE, if I said that right this time. I probably haven't, but there we go. And this is a super cool little asset. I just really like how that sits in up next to this wall, and we will add walls around here as well. Don't worry, I will come back to that. And we do. Also just need to take off those benches. Let's not have them floating in the road. Oh, and these lights as well. There we go. Now the other problem with this as well is it says City Partner Plays on it. Now, shout out to Phil. As much as Phil is an awesome guy, I'm not sure I want that in the centre of Fewladelphia. I'm pretty sure Joe made this for Phil's BANT series. I expect most of you are watching that, but if you haven't, go and check it out. In fact, I'm not going to touch it, and you can let me know in the comments below. Shall we cover up the City Partner Plays sign, or shall we leave it? Let me know. So yeah, I think that'll go there. What I would quite like to do is kind of adjust the surface underneath it. I sort of want to make it look like it's sat on a slightly temporary base, if that makes any sense at all. I was kind of wondering what it might look like on a wooden surface. I mean, bear with me here. I'm experimenting. Something like that. I quite like. I know it's a little bit weird for a central plaza, but I feel like we could make that work. And what we do want to do just here is actually change this. I know this is running right into the pedestrian road there, but we do want to make sure that wooden surface at least is all the way around it. And annoyingly, that one that I had just put in there doesn't cover the pedestrian road. Do any of them? Okay, so we're not having a wooden surface there. We'll change our mind. Something different. Maybe some clay pavers. We could even go for something super fun like that. That does look like it could be a little bit more of a temporary flooring, actually. So maybe that works. I can't say I'm massively keen on super bright, colourful surfaces. So maybe I just need to get out of my comfort zone in this case. I'm going to go for it. But then around it, to really sort of bring that kind of pop-up event style thing to life, what we're going to use is static plopper balls for a lot of the park sort of Ferris ride assets that came with bridges and ports. So if we turn off snapping to road, and also to note with these, you have one variant that's not animated and another which is animated. So if you want the turning and that animation, make sure you pick the right variant. So we have got the small Ferris wheel. There is the large Ferris wheel. I feel like this is too big. That's not a pop-up Ferris wheel. Whereas this one definitely could be folded up and carried on the back of a truck. That's what I was thinking. We also have the Jet Set Jubilee Carousel Park. Let's maybe add one of these here. And then because we can recolour them, I think I'm going to add 2 of those. Because we don't have that many assets we can use. We also then have the Carousel Park here. So let's drop that in over here. And then there is also the Bouncy Castle. We want a Bouncy Castle. Yeah, why not? I'm trying to be careful not to block some of the entranceways to these buildings, because I do want to add in static ploppable assets to them to make this all functional and have people coming in and out, which we'll come on to in a little bit. Yeah, let's add the Bouncy Castle there, and then let's see what we can do to recolour this and make it seem quite different. Oh, that's not too bad, as we have the garbage truck, which is going to drive right past our skating rink. Wonderful. And I know we could delete out the pedestrian roads running down here, because this building's actually snapped to the section here, which would stop trucks from driving across this way. However, I do want this road here so we can actually get the block services into here. Because if you have a look, I mean, it's low density residential, this is the 1x6. It would be way too far away from the road to have assets like this and have people walking directly into the building. So we kind of have to have the pedestrian road here so that we can actually hide these blocks within the building itself. One thing we could do though, let's grab network tools quickly, add in a node around about there and there, is actually just delete out the end sections of it so it's not connected in those places, which also gets rid of the unnecessary crossings there. And then what we'll do is just use invisible paths to connect in the ends like that. Okay, so anyway, what we do want to do here is get in loads of food trucks and a few tables and make this feel really busy and alive, and then track our invisible pathways around it and through it to get out the other side, so we get people really spread out across this plaza. And then we can also sort out the invisible lines at the bottom of our steps here too. And then over here, I'm just thinking we have a really open grass field area. Nothing really too special, just actual open grassland people could come and sit on. Thinking maybe a small tree line here just to block the noise of the busy road on this side. But that would pretty much be it. So 3 episodes after we plopped it in, we finally have an actual area at the back of our makeshift city hall here. And as you can see, there is quite a lot of activity. And you can see even more, if we just speed it up here, we've just got a train coming in, how these people flow down. So I'm still having trouble with them all going down 1 or 2 of the stairs. There is activity across all of the stairs, but as you can see, they tend to still do a massive single file beeline on this particular pathway here, which is kind of annoying. And I have realised it does slightly clip into our fountain edge there, so that'll need a bit of adjusting. But I do like that we do have people all over, so even though most of them are going in one direction, there's actually just a real kind of spilling of people everywhere. Like we've got invisible paths across this area. I did actually plop in an actual park here too, and extended the park area, so I have seen the odd person just coming and standing in this space. It looks a little bit weird. I wish they'd hang out and do some of their yoga. I may not have got exactly the right area that I'd wanted in here. But yeah, people do just come and stand here. Unfortunately, no one is right now, of course, when I'm wanting to talk about it. But yeah, I like the fact that people walk across the grass. They cut in through this little sort of alleyway bit at the side of the subway station here. And then, yeah, they do just kind of fan out across City Hall. So I do have invisible pathways going through these little tunnels here too, which I quite like. So you can see people walking through there now. There's also a pathway through the actual main entrance of the City Hall out here. So here you go, you can see people coming out there now. And I've done my best to try and get up the stairs. The bottom is really dodgy, as you can see, the people sinking in there. But they do actually come out at a level with the doorway, which I quite like. So yeah, this side is a little bit empty. So I'd really love to explore some ways I can make this a bit busier. The tricky thing is though here that the block services won't reach from this road into this building. They all kind of have to be at the side here where I've plopped a few in. So actually getting people out the front is a little bit tricky. What we might do is use one of the block service park areas and change things like the food truck area to the actual functional food truck area. And then we might get the odd person hanging around there. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, really pleased with this back half of it. And I do quite like how we have one area that's a little bit more peaceful, shall we say, a little bit quieter. And then another area that's obviously got this little pop-up fair. So I did go around and add a bunch of bins and tables and little props, the odd tiny piece of trash here and there, because I thought if this is a actual fair area, it would get a little bit messier than I think the city would otherwise want for this space. We of course have our ice rink in there, with a few tables and benches, etc. around it, but it all seems to be working quite nicely with the flow of the traffic. And yeah, I just wish we had a little bit more of a variety of props for this kind of thing. We've only got really 4 rides. We count the 2 that are duplicated and recoloured there, but it works pretty well. And then yeah, these fountains, I did originally pop in some other ones, and then shout out to David Atkinson, my Patreon, pointed out it looked maybe a little bit funky. So we changed them to the same kind of fountain design I did actually outside our Imperial State building. So we've just got the cemetery wall pieces here sunk right into the ground to form the nice brick wall edge of it. Imagine people sitting on the edge of it in the summer, dangling their feet in. I don't know, that might not be very nice, but there we go. And then yes, we've got these magnificent statues, which I've just sunk down to get rid of the base. These are from Rizira. Yes, the wonderful Rizira, the remote obelisk. Love these. So I think this is a bit of a feature at the back of City Hall here. I've no idea why it would be here. Maybe you can add some lore in the comments. But I thought it looked nice. And then the final thing is, again, shout out to David Atkinson, my wonderful patron, who gave me the idea to add in some sort of supports or decoration around here. So yeah, really like this. I think it adds quite a nice effect actually, having those little concrete beams coming into the little tunnel there and a bit of advertising. Now I am going to come in, possibly next episode, if I've got the time before then, to do lots of billboards and add a bunch of brands. So if you've got ideas for things, let me know. I do have an idea for a car company that we're going to be putting into Fewladelphia. So we'll swap out those billboards for some better, more appropriate Fewladelphia billboards in due course. And so with that, let's come on to some trams. So if we take a look at our public transit overview and connections into the downtown which currently exist, we have a rail line, the purple one, which comes from Atkinson, Fewhaven, through Burrell, stops in Tinney and into downtown. It does not connect in Fishers Point. Remember, Fishers Point does not have a rail station. Now, Fisher's Point does have a ferry stop which will be connected into the downtown, but at the moment, the only public transit serving there are trams, which can take them out to Burrill Station and indeed can take them out to Tinney Station as well. But I think what would be nice is to change up this tram route here, the one that comes from Fisher's Point into Tinney, and actually divert it so it goes straight into the downtown. And then we'd have a separate tram route that comes from Tinney into the downtown eventually. But at the moment, we're just going to leave it with Tinney connecting the suburb into the actual station here, because then they can get the rail in, which makes more sense for the time being. And until I know exactly what's going in here, I don't really want to start laying down tram routes just for the sake of it, because it's going to look just as ugly as this horrific rail line that's in here currently, which won't stay. But I do think we can put in the majority, at least, of the Fisher's Point line right now. So at the moment, we do have tram lines which extend all the way up this street here. This is super ugly. All the way up here and then into our new, what will be, a transit hub. And then they kind of go off in various different ways around the downtown, which is a little bit willy-nilly at the moment. So we need to change that up. So what I'm thinking is we do keep it along this road for the time being, but this I don't really want, because this is actually quite a busy road. There's a lot of traffic using it. It cuts into the main highway intersection here. So I'm thinking this really needs to act as an arterial for most of this stretch up until we get down into the actual centre here. So I'm thinking the tram realistically should probably divert off somewhere around here, not long after the highway connects in, and go onto a dedicated tram route, or at least, at the very least, a smaller road. But again, until we've designed this district, I'm going to leave it just as on this main road, and we can change it up further down the line. So I'm thinking from here as well, that'll be where it diverges off onto a slightly different road. But all of this at the moment has got tram lines in, so that's no problem here. And then I'm thinking once it stops outside our main square, let's go ahead and put in some tram stops, shall we? And I think we are actually just going to make use of the architectural tram stop from the City Stations pack here. And I'd like to sort of split where the tram stops are so they're not directly opposite each other. So I'm thinking we'll have one outside the nightclub, because then at least we haven't got one directly outside our fancy Il Mucci restaurant, or however you say that. So let's drop one in there, and we'll drop another one sort of opposite the fountain on this side. So that gives both directions serving tram stop there. And I think actually, because we have got quite a stretch of downtown here, and we want the trams to stop every couple of blocks, I would say, realistically. So if we take that as 1 block, 2 block, 3 blocks, maybe we stop at this point here. So let's find an appropriate space. I think because the crossings here will lean more towards the crossing. So let's have one stop there, maybe one stop like that. We can stagger them a little bit. Why not? And this is where the tricky part starts, because we split into our one-way system, and some of these bends are completely inappropriate and do need changing up. I know that. But I think with the right-hand traffic, we'll come along here and we will go down this road. So again, if we've got a stop there, we go 1 block, maybe we do have another stop at this point here. So what have we got there? We've got the church. And we've got some parking annoyingly outside it, which I can't remove, which is really annoying. So maybe we have a really tight tram stop. If this gets busy, that's going to cause major jams. I don't really want it right outside the front of the church. This is an awkward spot. This is a very awkward spot for it. Perhaps it is slightly further up, actually, outside our gas station, because that's just on the side there. They shouldn't interfere with too much at that point. I know it's very close to the other one, but we are in the downtown. So yes, then it will curve down here, all the way along this street, and then bend round to have a stop in front of our other train station here. So it kind of connect the two up. And particularly further down the line, I think that will be useful, because I think the main intention is to have the majority of the traffic coming to this station from this side of the map, and with our new station, or new old station, from the original OG side of the map. Now, I think I'm actually going to get rid of this. I don't think we're going to have enough trams to warrant the amount of stops actually in here. So I think it would be better to put some kind of manual tram stop in this space here and make this very much into a transit hub plaza. And it could even be as simple as having 2 of these back to back. Now I know they clash, but bear with me here. I think we can kind of get away with that. And then we could have the trams from this direction come into this side and head off out this way. And then we could have the trams from this direction come in at this point. This is going to make this junction very messy. And then head off out this way. So, yeah. Let's delete that. And then we can, of course, add on the second platform here, which I think we will do as well. And we just need to change where the subway line was going into this station, into now this new line. So here what we can do is take the tram lines off this road. Is this a custom road? Yes, it is. So we'll make our own custom one right back. Have I just banned bikes? I have. Hang on. I think maybe it's alright if there's a bike lane, but still, we don't really want to ban them. So yeah, to line this up, because of the tram lines, I've kind of given this an extra lane for turning in either direction here. It's quite a busy one. Then I've also just given this a bit of a blank space here. So I think what we could do is add in a net lane if we can find one of the right size. Which we can't. So the other thing we can do is add in some stripe surfaces here. And then again, we can take the tram lines off this section of road here. Okay, so that kind of means the tram is flowing a little bit better out those sides. We do need to then bring it up here, but I am missing one section. So at this point here, we have the tram coming in down this road, but it sort of stops and doesn't continue. I'd actually like to change up this road a little bit because it does sort of run through a pedestrian area, so it's not a super busy strip. We do have quite a lot of cars parking in here, but I thought maybe we could do something a little bit different with this, with a touch of road builder. So let's grab this and we'll make this a tram road only. So let's get rid of that. And I do need to remember this was at 3 units. We need to keep it at 3 units really importantly so that we don't screw up any of the zoning or anything we have around it. So yeah, we just dropped in the tram track there. And then what I'd quite like to do is have a really small median. We're not going to have any stops on this side. It'll all be on this side of the road because we're going in that direction. So we don't need to make the median any wider, but we can just have that little divided lane. And then let's get rid of this one and put in a parking lane, which I know is like in the middle of the street. But Stephen Foster pointed out that in Philly, on South Broad Street, cars actually park in the middle of the street, like they literally park on the median. And he thought that would be a really cool thing to add. I really like that idea, so we're going to do something similar here. Yeah, let's do it. So we're going to take parking off the side, and because we need this to be 3 units, we're not quite there just yet. So I'm going to make this sidewalk a little bit narrower. And I kind of don't think we necessarily need them to be that wide as it is anyway. So let's drop it right down to, I'm going to make it 4. And I'm wondering if we do then get another car lane in, so we've still got, or maybe even because it's because it's residential, let's maybe have another parking lane on either side. And actually, I've just realised we have buses coming down this street, so actually instead of that extra parking lane, I think it would be better to have a bus lane, which does mean in order to get this to a width of 3 units, we need to drop these sidewalks back down to 4 metres, which I think will be fine. So yeah, that gives us a nice little custom road, I think. So let's then go ahead and upgrade this entire street. And actually, where do our buses come out? So they head in there. They actually don't go down this side. So at this point, we could potentially do something a little bit different. So let's drop in the road and then let's go back into Road Builder. We'll get rid of the bus there. And then maybe we make this pavement quite wide with a bit of a grass strip. Well, that kind of works. So we'll upgrade to that road at this point, and then our trams turn off anyway, so that's all good there. And then back here I do just want to edit this road so we get rid of that additional tram track because it's not heading anywhere. And we'll just add an empty lane in, which again we could put some hashed markings on. I mean, we don't really need to. It's kind of alright like that. Okay, so I think that is all of the tram lines in. Let's just make sure we have upgraded this road, which we have there. And then we do also need to upgrade this road actually, which has the bike lane on it. So I think with this one, We might need some road builder on it, but maybe we'll do that when we come to do the park, because I think it would be nice to have the bikes protected from the trams at the very least, but we probably wouldn't put a stop on this strip anyway, so the fact that pedestrians will have to cross the tram road to get to the stop wouldn't matter, I don't think, in this case. Now this line isn't connected here, which it won't be. I mean, it could be potentially further along the line if we divert it off this way or something, but for the moment we're going to have to ignore that. Okay, so let's break off this part of the line and flip it into downtown. So that's that, and as it was going in, it did also remind me we do have tram tracks already up this way. So I'm wondering if some kind of circular route around here might be kind of cool to have. So we have trams heading up this way, across here, down here. So I'm wondering, could we have a loop around this side of the downtown at least? We've kind of got this part covered, and they could connect in essentially across this transit hub plaza here into a stop this side, so they could cross between routes if they wanted to, and there's also crossover potentially on those stops there as well, and we could have a clockwise and an anti-clockwise route wrapped around the downtown at this point. Now the only trouble with that is this route here. This is a really badly thought out road that I kind of just put in when I was trying to map things out, but it is a nice wide street. It would be a good one to have trams along. It crosses past things like the JFK Plaza and also the back of our ABC broadcasting towers there too. So I do just want to change this with Road Builder. We want to take the tram line to the edge of the road, and we're on a 3-unit road here, let's remember that. And I'm going to make it tram only, not with cars. We're going to remove the bike lanes from this. We'll delete out this lane. And I have just apparently realised that we can't separate out the bikes, can we? No, we can't. We can, however, put them on that side, so we can. However, if we do want a tram loop, we actually need to have a tram coming in the other direction, so we are going to need one on the other side of the road, which then negates the bikes, so I think we're going to have to take the bikes off in this case. So yeah, it is going to be kind of dangerous with the traffic crossing with a different way to the trams coming. I'm wondering if we can add in a really tiny median, but then it does make it too wide again. So perhaps it is a case that this actually is a car and tram road, and then we can remove one of our car lanes from this, which gives a little bit more flexibility in terms of the traffic. Okay, that works. So we have a protected tram going in the opposite direction there. The bike lanes are going to need a little bit of thought there, but I think this is going to have to do for our tram road so that we can make sure that we've got this custom loop in. Now, if we take this off, some of these turnings are pretty ridiculous. So let's head into node controller and just widen this out. Now, none of these trams are going to be turning this way either, so we could use a bit of traffic here to remove those too. Well, that has made the other tram turns a little bit better at least, so that'll be okay. We do have a similar situation up on this top corner too, so let's just adjust this. And that's a bit better there. Alright, so let's go ahead and get in our clockwise and anti-clockwise tram routes. And that's that. So that gives us pretty good coverage across the centre of the downtown. Now I do need to just look out for the number of vehicles here. I'm going to lower the price to $3 for these central lines. I've got 2 vehicles on each of them. And also just to point out, we are going to use the HBLR generic light rail trains by VTOC for this. They are fabulous. Love them. Hopefully we'll see a few flying around before the end of the episode. But I'm not sure if we're going to have enough capacity. So we do need to watch out for that. This is more trams. I mean, let's add it because I think we're going to need it, particularly with the route extension from Fisher's Point there too. Now, the final thing I do need to do is actually add back in the tinny line. So let's do that. And that should do nicely. So that'll take people from around Tinny to the train station where they can hop on and get into downtown and then head on to either of our tram networks now, or indeed the subway. So here, I feel like the subway is kind of useful to connect between these 2 tram tracks because we've got a station there which connects into here and then they can hop onto this tram to go round if they need to. But this subway line is a little bit defunct because they could just get on the tram, although I guess it's quicker, so maybe tram if you're wanting to stop, subway if you're not, might make a bit of sense. But I think the subways will come more into play as we extend further out the city rather than right now where they're a little bit useless. If we have a look at usage, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It'll be burning money in the city at the end of the day. In fact, let's lower the ticket price. I think most of our public transit across Fewladelphia is actually currently free, so we may as well make them free as well. Alright, so we'll come back a little bit later on and check usage on that, and we'll also detail this plaza once and for all, finally. It's been a long time coming. But I do just want to move on to the final thing for today, which is this area over here. So after the last episode, Tegon, the Rail Master himself, did have a couple of suggestions on this junction. Now the first of which I've actually already done. So he suggested that we increase the radius of this, which actually previously, I think it was around about here, definitely did not go under the highway. Now, the reason why it's already done is because I thought I'd test it and make sure we can fit it under the highway. And when I put it in, I was so pleased with how perfectly round I managed to get it. I didn't have the heart to delete it out and do it again on camera. Sorry, everyone. But by way of a tip, I will just say that by using the continuous curve, this is your best friend. So if you get it to come out at a certain angle, then you can create a perfect loop like this, which I've never really done very well, and I know loads of you have told me to do this previously for things like roundabouts, but yeah, this is much easier when you get to grips with that to create perfect kind of circles. So that's in essence what I actually did in that space there. I don't know why we're on fast speed. Tone that down now. So yes, thank you for that suggestion, Tegon. That has really opened up this space. And yes, it does go underneath the highway quite comfortably, actually, in terms of height. So we've got some dodginess on the retaining wall there, as always. But that works pretty well. So hopefully that curve is a little bit more suitable for trains going around it. Now, the other suggestion Tegon had was to use the lane connector tool within the traffic mod to stop these kind of dodgy nodes here. So if we go onto this, we say remove all connections. It looks funky like that, but then we can just rejoin up each of the tracks straight on, so we get rid of all those crazy changes. And so that just looks a hell of a lot cleaner. So thank you for that awesome suggestion, Tegon. And I will just say as well, on these tracks, which I will tidy up, we'll either continue on the random decals or we'll put in some net lanes at some point. Not my priority for today. I have created crossings here because when you actually look at the train lines themselves, because I've got them coming into all different platforms here, again, I had to use loads of different waypoints, which I'm pretty sure we should be able to remove now. Yes, to get them to actually sit on their respective tracks. So they do cross over when they come out of this station, but it's not too bad. But yeah, we can remove all of these random waypoints now and they're just going to sit. Oh, no, we can't. No, we can't. Hang on. We'll keep that one. So they do now sit nicely, those two lines on their respective tracks, and don't actually cross over except for this point just by the station here. And if I do just show you this slope in Network Tools, you can see we're at 2.6% gradient. Not too shabby at all. Pretty pleased with that. So this space here with the rail wrapping around it reminds me an awful lot of the Gas Holders Park near King's Cross in London. which is this. So as you can see, we've got a really busy central London railway station here, and then this all used to be an old gasworks. So they have these big cylinders which have been converted into nice looking flats in there, and there is a whole complex around it. It's not just the gas holders, but this is kind of the infamous part of it. We've then got some nice landscaping, etc. around it, but you can see we've still got the remnants of older industrial buildings. Things like this little box really intrigues me here as well. But it's all very much fairly recently been gentrified around here. So this is another example of a gas holder in London. This is the Rotherhithe gas holder, I think, here, where you can see the land around it is just kind of abandoned, but it's very, very close to residential in this spot, a little bit outside of the downtown, but kind of sandwiched next to this big main road in this case as well. Now there's tons of these all around London, like we've got the Southwark gas holder here too, which you can see is very much in a big industrial area. But this is something I'd like to explore, is building frames like this in that space. So when I was thinking about buildings that I could put inside a gasworks, the one that obviously springs to mind is the round office. This would work perfectly. So we have got a static ploppable of it, we can sink it into the ground and make a couple of different heights. So what I'm thinking here is we create our gas holders, 3 of them, like we saw on the gasworks, kind of paired together in this space, and then maybe another big empty one over here. And then we kind of create the entranceway as if it's a bit of a building site, like it's still having work done to it. Maybe there's bits of scaffolding and trucks around it and things are kind of in progress. That's what I'm thinking. I might change my detailing plan when I actually come to it, but that's the general idea. So the next thing is, how are we going to put gas holders in? Now, the amazing GIGABYTE has released a historical industrial set, which you can see does have gas holders in it. However, this is the largest one that it has, a 4x4. It's got also smaller ones, which we could definitely potentially utilise around this area. It's also got some really nice, much smaller industrial buildings, like this one in particular, which actually, before I forget, I'm going to plop down now because I definitely think that would be a nice little touch to have at the entrance as some kind of nod to what it once was in this area. But yeah, we can't use these because they're just too small. So instead, we're going to use Harbour Master J's gantries and use this little beam here to create our gas holders. So we're going to use line tool in a circular pattern. We're going to make sure that they're all snapped to the same height, and these are 8-metre beams, but if we overlap it a little bit, we can get quite a nice small circle in here, so 18 metres. So I think we are just going to go for the default height for the first layer. What I do want to do is like mark the centre of the circle here. So I kind of need some kind of decal that's going to give us a very precise spot. So actually this football pitch works really perfectly because it's got that tiny little dot there. So we want to make sure we're not moving the camera angle too much, so I try and get these circles absolutely perfect in here. So let's click on that there, and we can go out to our radius of 18. And then what we want to do is create an elevation here. So if we go up by 10 metres, in fact, I worry that's too small, but I don't want to move my camera angles. I'm actually going to go up to 8 metres, like that. And then we'll go up another 8 metres. And we'll keep going like that until we get the height that we want. So we've got something like this in, which this might be a bear with me section. It might be a bear with me section here. But that kind of works. What we also do want is straight up poles, essentially. So we can also use, in the gantries pack, there is a big beam. In fact, we'll go for the longest beam. Now this is where it's going to start to become really fiddly, because we're going to place an absolute ton of these in. But what we do want to do with this is use the transform tool to flip it over so it's standing up vertically, and then we can move it to move these into place on the side of the cylinder. And it just about reaches, so I'm actually going to toggle that up a little bit. And then what I'm going to do, we can delete out the football pitch. I'm going to move it on all of these props here. And we're just going to jot it down a tiny bit, like that. And then we want to repeat that process to get multiples of these pillars in all the way around. man, that wasn't fiddly at all. I did actually decide to remove the top layer because I think that's just a nicer looking height. And with these buildings, we can sink them down anywhere if we put them in. I don't know if we want one sticking out over the top, maybe. But I'm going to see which way the wind takes me, to be honest, with that when it comes to a spot of detailing. Part of me, now I've seen it in, is actually quite inclined to leave it as abandoned. I might do some prop work around it as if they're about to turn it into the gasworks. And then maybe, further down the line in Fewladelphia, we could come and renovate it. Let's dive in and see. So yes, I couldn't help myself. We have gone for an abandoned look, for now at least. So I ended up doing 3 different sizes, so we have got quite a much larger one there, and I really like the proportions of this. I really wanted them to be big and quite dominant in the city, and I just also love the fact that we've got some of these sort of rundown areas that are changing uses and changing hands over time, which I think just really helps to bring the city alive, like the one that we did in the last episode in the other corner over there. And then that combined with the fact that we've got so many people walking around the city, around our streets, we've got trams on the streets, just the city feels alive, and it is exactly this reason that I love City Skylines. So yeah, I had some fun here. Now, we'll just say, halfway through me recording it, I did also have a massive electricity shortage. What's it called? That thing where it won't transfer. So I actually decided to add a little electricity substation here, and we've got underground wires running all the way through the highway network, connecting directly into our big geothermal power plant. So that's bringing high voltage electricity directly into the downtown, which I think is quite a good thing. And I kind of thought as well, I don't know how realistic that is next to a gasworks, but maybe? It's kind of a cute little building regardless anyway, so that's what we're going for here. So yeah, this is the one I think from the Netherlands region pack. Really, really cute little substation here. And then actually I changed my mind on these buildings. So Jorski's historical set, a lot of them had chimneys and lots of smoke billowing out. It just wasn't really the type of vibe I want. So I did go for this asset here, but just recoloured it, changed the roof so it looked a little bit older. And then we also went for this one, which is from a different industrial set, again from Jorski, pumping out the assets at the moment, which I really like. And then we've just absolutely plastered it in this sort of worn brick decal and covered the roof in some more wear and tear so that it really looks properly kind of run down and disused. And then that's really the whole theme of this area. So stuff used to be here, it used to be functional, and now it's not so much. And then yeah, I decided in this one to actually just go for a bit of that detailing at the bottom of the gas tank here. So yeah, quite pleased with how that's come out, with all the rust and dirt on the bottom of that there. Yeah, I really like the sort of the difference of these 3, and particularly how they sit into the skyline. I think once we've got buildings all around them, that's going to be such a feature, especially when you're driving up this highway and you come to see it. People are going to remember those gas holders. And yeah, who knows, maybe one day we'll come in and develop them into something a little bit nicer. Then we'll come on down to the transit hub down here. And this is getting some usage, but it is nowhere near as busy as the other one. You can see the train station actually gets a lot of usage. So yeah, this is still pretty busy. And I will look at rider numbers in just a second so that you can actually see that. But yeah, there's a lot of people in this area and using this station. I mean, we can go down into the station, you can see here. Yeah, there's a decent number of people on the platforms. Also love the fact that people are walking across the top here too. It's just like, yeah, there's people everywhere in the city. It's, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. Anyway, getting distracted. So yeah, here comes a tram now. And we do have 206 passengers on it actually. I don't know how many people are going to get off here. So let's maybe have a little look. Basically no one. Okay. So I guess that's because they're going down the one-way loop. They must be getting on at the tram stop down here, staying on the tram to go into there, and then it comes back out and goes round the loop this way. I've just realised it's not coming down there. I might need to add in a waypoint for that, but either way it doesn't matter too much. And then we've got an absolutely jam-packed tram stop by the church here. So we had quite a big changeover of passengers there. I really hope people are not just going from that stop there to that stop there. That's quite lazy, just walk. But yeah, our trams are certainly getting some usage. We can have a little look at the Fisher's Point line here. We've got a 96% line usage. There is a lot of people waiting at some of the stops, and there's quite a few trams here as well. So we might need to up the capacity. I'm reluctant to go to one of the bigger models because they are just so big. Like even this one's maybe a little bit too big for the downtown. But we're going to need a lot more tram depots to support more vehicles. So yeah, we'll see that in time. And wow, here you go. Here is our very, very busy transit hub plaza. And just to comment on the subway as well, like basically no one's using it. 6 passengers waiting, getting absolutely no use. So let's just dive in and take a little better look at this. Because we can see here, let's get rid of that. You can see the number of passengers waiting as part of the Better Transit View mod here, which is pretty cool. So we've actually got 300 people waiting on the purple train line here. So that train is just incredibly busy. Got quite a few people waiting at those tram stops there too. And then you can kind of see across the city, the tinny line's getting hardly any usage. I think it kind of goes the same route as the bus, so it's a little bit defunct in that respect. But yeah, it is what it is. This tram stop's absolutely rammed as people come off the ferry and then get onto the tram, which is an interesting way round from Fewhaven, or indeed from here. You could just stay on the tram. Or from Fewhaven, you could take the train, which surely is quicker than doing ferry tram. I don't know. But yeah, we're getting pretty decent ridership, I'd say, across most of our public transit. So that's the funicular, we can kind of ignore that. Yeah, the yellow line is getting a bit of usage, but it's not particularly high. We can see there's a few empty stops down this route down here. And yeah, the reason why I use these tram stops rather than creating custom ones is because I do actually sit at them. Sometimes. He's not. And there you go, there's some people sat at this one. Yeah, whereas if I try and add in my own benches, of course they're not actually going to sit at it, so I thought particularly because we've got a lot of tram stops around the downtown, I'm not too fussed with making them all different and unique, so using those modern tram shelters is a nice alternative to that. So yeah, we still have a lot of the downtown to do, and we've also got this big glaring space. I'd really love to start connecting Tinny up to the downtown. If you have a particularly strong view of what you would like to see in the upcoming episodes, let me know. Should we focus on filling out more of this area, going down to the waterfront, etc. first, before filling in the gap? What do you think? And just before we go, I want to shout out Rookie Thomas, who has won the last 2 months community challenges over on our Discord channel. If you'd like to find out how to enter, head on over there. The link is in the video description. But he won our Perfect Plazas challenge in May, and then also won our How Was That Allowed challenge, looking at dangerous builds, last month too. So if you fancy trying to stop Thomas's winning streak, head on over to Discord to get involved in the community challenges. But yeah, congratulations Thomas, great screenshots all round. And for today, that is going to be it. If you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares are really greatly appreciated. I want to give a massive shout out to my wonderful YouTube members and patrons. Particularly on this last episode, they've given me so many pointers as I've been building it, and I've shaped things around what we've been discussing over in the Discord, and it's been fantastic. I appreciate you all so much. Huge shout out to Thomas Campus, our Funiverse Mayor. Insane support, thank you so much. But that is all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye.